All right. It's the Live Drive Jive Archive with your host, Frank Monday. Greetings and salutations, brothers and sisters, wizards and warriors, witches and warlocks. Welcome to another Live Drive Jive with your host, Frank Monday. It is the 13th of September, 2021. We are deep in Lovecraft country today. As you can see from the lighting, we have got cooler weather, scattered thunder showers, cloudy overcast skies, so it's nice. Just made it through the weekend. What was going on the weekend? Sunday for me, man, was a day of rest. I stayed in rest mode pretty much the whole day. I think I cooked lunch and dinner, but other than that, I was just taking naps and reading, listening to the YouTubes. There's a guy who drops a video once a week on the YouTubes. His name is John Levi, and I think some of his work is inspired in part by Martin Leitz. Martin Leitz is FEB, Flat Earth British. He inspires a lot of folks. That guy Campbell over in Australia, who's been focusing on star forts, his work is pretty much like 90% taken from Martin Leitz. Campbell was actually on Leak Project over the weekend. I didn't hear him giving any credit to Flat Earth British, but what are you gonna do? John Levi's work is also inspired by others, but I like John Levi because he's got a good presentation style, and a lot of the guys he highlights and gets his data from don't have the polished, refined suave that he does. So I'd rather listen to him tell the story anyway, rather than, wow, dude's got no idea what he's doing, rather than some of the folks they take their work from. I like listening to Martin a little bit, but his videos always go hours and hours and hours. It's just such huge information dumps. Well, to run it down for you, if you have not experienced any of those folks, basically they're talking about, in part, Tartaria and old maps from like the 1500s. And the fact that the narrative we've been taught in school and the mainstream narrative of history is 100% BS, and it's all been reset multiple times. There have been multiple different types of cataclysms, but the gist of it is that a lot of the architecture around the world was inherited. It wasn't built by the people who said they built it. A lot of times they don't even say that they built it, that there were maps showing the locations of these buildings, and these old world builders, possibly 1,000, 2,000, some of it even older, had technology, what they call antiquitech, which is antique technology. The thing is, they've dug up plenty of proof, and some parts of the mainstream narrative just fall apart immediately, such as Benjamin Franklin's discovery of electricity, which I never heard as he discovered it. I mean, electricity was already a thing when he started working with it, so I hear people claim that that's when electricity came on the scene, but that's obviously not true. Oh, I gotta pay Road Fair. 你好，谢谢。Yeah, so electricity was already well on the scene by the time old Benny Boy came along, and he was just picking up. I've read his book on electricity. He was picking up experiments that other people were already dealing with that had come out of the Middle East, like again Antiquitech, ancient technology. The Baghdad battery, dates back some 2,500 years ago. So electricity was obvious. Not obviously, but electricity was a thing in the ancient world. But they cover up that part of the story. That much is true. That it's definitely obfuscated. That word always tricks me a little bit. So a lot of those things are certainly. There's certainly a scam going on, and it's not as if they're even really trying to hide the fact that they're scamming you. But so many people run around and they've drunk the Kool-Aid, the mainstream narrative Kool-Aid, and that's what baffles me. It's like you're taking in a mainstream narrative that from guys that are telling you they're lying to you, and then you're acting like everyone should buy into that, and if you don't buy into that, you're crazy. How does that make any fucking sense to you? Like my uncle Jack out in California, he's a Hollywood guy, so I understand that he's got to toe the line, but he pushes the mainstream narrative like it's legitimate. Like I went out there and I stayed with him and my sister, and I was exploring the flat earth paradigm. At the time, when I got into it, I was like, hey, there's these folks out there with this flat earth paradigm. And I'm like, I was going to take a Dr. Robert Anton Wilson approach to it. In his book, Prometheus Rising, he recommends that you experiment with shifting paradigms for fun. That, say, for example, if you're a diehard Catholic, that you should jump over and experience a legitimate Buddhist experience. Just like put yourself through it. Try to convince yourself for like 2 weeks or a month that you're a Buddhist, and try to see things through their eyes. And so when I was really young, I read Prometheus Rising. We're talking like 13, 14 years old, like right after it came out. I read a lot of his books: Schrodinger's Cat, Cosmic Trigger 1 and 2, the Illuminati trilogy. I really got into my Wilson like around 13, 14, 15 years old. But Prometheus Rising is the one that was the catalyst, the crucible for me, in that his paradigm shifting exercise I thought was religion. And I sent off for my Pope card of Discordia, and I got it back in the mail, so I have a mid-1980s Pope card, which means I'm a Pope of Discordia. But it was, again, let me explain it to you. It's the paradigm shifting in reality tunnels that really cinched it for me. So in my mid-teens to mid-20s, I went through every possible paradigm on Earth. If I came across a new paradigm, I put myself through a two to 3 week, sometimes longer, but typically a two to three, maybe a month long regimen of convincing myself that I believed that paradigm. So I was a Moonie, I was a Scientologist, I was a Mormon, Christians of all faiths, Catholic. Never got too far in the Catholic, because that shit's like hard work, man. It's fucking, you got to study to do that. But a deist, an atheist, so on and so forth. So you can see the direction. And I got to the point where I became very malleable in belief systems and realized that they were all left lacking. None of them were direct pointing at the truth. Some of them got close, like work hard and do good works. Benjamin Franklin and his personal philosophies was pretty accurate, be inventive, be creative, and then give it to the public domain, or, promote it for the betterment of humanity, if that's your shtick. Taoism was damn near the answer at pointing at truth. Wild hedonistic paganism had some of the answers, but again, none of them were 100% infallible. Atheism, all of it all has its shortcomings, and it all has. So the overall generalized view that I came up with through all that experimentation with different belief systems is that they were all basically full of shit on some level, and they had some truth to them. But the key, for me at least, was that you could ride any of these vehicles or none of them. You can do it entirely without any of the vehicles, or you can use any one that you want. Not like a buffet where you're, just gorging yourself on all various systems, but that you could use the best of their teachings to cultivate yourself, but you didn't have to be attached to them. So the type of expression that I came up with when I was young, in my younger years, was that I bow to no God, but I respect them all. And I cherish the opportunity to be in the human sphere and show reverence towards the various divine deities and so on and so forth. Yeah, these guys got it. Good job. They got their left turn on. But I was fourth in line, so I'll have to wait for the light. So that's my basic understanding. I know a lot of folks are diehard out there for the one God, or the no God, or the many God, and they're all of those are within the conceptual realm of human cognition, and thus they're all fallible. Like the no God guys, I get into it with them on the mug book sometimes, and they can't see the reality that they attack faith. They say if you have faith, then you're just an ignorant fool. And I'm like, but all of their belief is faith too, because they're not scientists of any caliber, and they rely on all of their data gathering, all of their information, where they claim the disproof of divinity comes from other people's work. So they have faith in the apparatus, mechanisms, and data gathering of other people over hundreds of years or whatever, and it's just blind faith in a mainstream narrative. Who are their popes and gods and so on? Who are their holy men? They've got Neil deGrasse Tyson, Stephen Hawking's, Einstein of all people. These are the guys that they worship in their religion of science. So science is a religion too. It's a belief system based on a set of parameters, and then faith in the work of those who went before you. Globe earthers, same thing. You haven't been out in a spaceship. You haven't circled the globe. Nobody has. Nobody's been to space. That's a scientific fact. Everywhere, no man has been to space. Everywhere that they've gone in spaceships, supposedly, like to the moon and stuff, is within the Earth's atmosphere. It's a scientific fact that the moon is also within the Earth's atmosphere. So, interplanetary space, nope, nobody's been there. Can't prove it. They say that they've sent out satellites, but again, if you buy into those data sets that are being sent back supposedly, then that's belief, that's faith in those systems. So they argue the point and say, oh, you're pig-headed. What we do is, the scientific method, and it's foolproof. Bullshit. Scientific method isn't foolproof. And the way people practice it is, again, within the realm of the dichotomy of the human sphere, false dichotomies. And so, anyway, I think that I instilled myself, many would say that I'm unanchored because I went through all of those paradigms and not adapting or adopting, and being religious with just one system is a sort of, heresy or blasphemy, and as a result, you're unanchored. But again, I bring it back to the fact that those are belief systems, and I don't need one to cultivate within the material sphere and penetrate into the unseen spheres. And if I had to say that I adopted one the most, it would be Taoism. Kung Fu and magic and dance and having a moral center, you don't know, but having a center where doing what's right for the family and the community is the cornerstone of my guidance. Oh, but without faith in God, you wander lost. No. Well, I do have faith in the Godhead and the highest divine source of pure energy. But once you start to describe it and to put it in a box, then that's no longer it. That's not what it is, because it's beyond the level of human conception, and therefore you shouldn't put it into a box. You're just polishing the leaves. You're not getting to the root of the thing. So for me, mysticism is the root of the thing. It's the mystery. It's admitting that you don't know and that it is a mystery. And being a part of that mystery is enough. You needn't go any further than that. Prayer and fasting and meditation and all of those things help to center you. But they're not the end all. They're a means to an end. So what is the end, many ask? Well, that's the thing. You push the finish button, but it doesn't end. You and I both know. It goes on and on and on. And so store your consciousness and your energy into your other forms. Start transferring it over as you get older. To a young person, that doesn't mean much. But as you get older, you start to understand that those forms are real, that you can work beyond the physical. You can work in the supersensual. You can build bodies outside of the human body and live among the Shens, among the immortals. Some may say that's daydreaming, that's fantasy. But I think it may be fantasy to some, and it may in fact be reality to others. If you can have verifiable, tangible proofs, then at least at a subjective, experiential level, I think it is real. It is real. There is some tangible reality to it. Wow, this video went super long, man, nearly 20 minutes. That's a lot of chit chat for the morning, huh? I've brought you all the way here. So with that said, I'll sign off with a prayer. Lord of the universe, the vast and the mighty one, creator of heaven and earth, maker of all things visible and invisible, we adore thee and we invoke thee. Send us your divine spiritual agents to guide and protect us through the innumerable snares of the earthly realm, and a cleansing wind to disperse with all the BS of inexhaustible human opinion that mires the subtle truth, nearly to that admires it to nearly nebulous levels of miasma that you can almost barely see it sometimes, and grant us fortitude and courage in the face of these new challenges as we go about day to day in our lives, so we can help our brothers and sisters along the path if that's deemed correct. And maybe they can help us and we can receive that help without prejudice or bigotry. And may people of all faiths and passions, whether it be the horned gods or the bald gods or the old whatever you like, whether it be a mustached god on a crystal throne with a white beard at the center of your universe, whether you live on a flat earth plane or a oblique spheroid, may we all, in Taoism we say that we're one family under heaven, and that we should work towards interdependent mutual benefit. And I think that's a pretty good positive message. So I'll say amen to that, and see you in the abodes of the future, as above, so below. I love y'all good looking, sexy people out in Happy Land. Until next time.